Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the National Archives in Washington, D.C. My name is Jim Byron, and I have the honor of serving as a senior advisor to the archivist appointed by President Trump to manage the agency day to day. We are gathered this morning in this temple to American representative government to do something that hasn't been done for 20 years, dedicate and open a spectacular new museum only steps from the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights. Our nation's story lives here at the National Archives, written and documented on pieces of paper and parchment, in telegrams and emails, on recordings and videos, all housed for posterity here in deep in secure vaults and sitting on thousands of miles of shelves all around the country. And this new museum brings these documents and artifacts to life through 9 galleries rooted in the records with interactive displays designed by the best in the business and enhanced by technologies unique and proprietary. You'll see incredible records in this museum documenting our nation's founding. You'll experience the process of creating the Constitution, understanding it, and amending it. You'll see items related to settlers in military service, to entrepreneurs and risk takers who dared to create and innovate and build. You'll see the work of advocates and icons. We're telling the unique and exceptional American story at the National Archives, and thus the exhibition's title. For the 8th graders on their first trip to Washington, to people visiting from countries all around the world, up to 2 million people are expected to visit this museum annually, and every one of them will now experience the story of America. So let's get started this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for the presentation of the colors and the playing of our national anthem. You may be seated. Thank you to the MPD Honor Guard for presenting our nation's colors and to that beautiful rendition of the national anthem from the Beltway Brass. Thank you. Let's show our thanks. The National Archives is fortunate to have a wide support network organized by the National Archives Foundation, the agency's nonprofit partner. The Foundation's leadership and management were instrumental in bringing this project to fruition. Many members of the board of directors gave generously of their time and their resources, and the Foundation coordinated outreach across the country, resulting in tremendous support, including from the United States Congress. The Foundation's chairman is Rodney Slater, who served as the 13th Secretary of Transportation under President Clinton, and I'd like to invite him to say a few words now, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Jim. Madam Ambassador, members of the National Archives Foundation Board, leaders of our staff, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Good morning, and a good morning indeed. For more than 3 decades, the Foundation has proudly supported the archives as its nonprofit partner, helping with groundbreaking exhibitions like the one we're debuting this morning, along with educational programs, better access to the millions of records of the archives, and much, much more. Our mission is simple, but essential. And through the generous support of our donors and partners, we ensure the National Archives can achieve its goal, its principal goal of deepening the public's understanding and appreciation of our shared history through its many, many holdings. In that vein, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the many donors and supporters who made this exhibit opening and dedication possible, including leaders in Congress who raised awareness about the project. The American story is the culmination of this strong public-private partnership. This morning's opening of the American Story and the new Discovery Center marks an exciting step forward. These spaces bring original documents together with cutting-edge technology to spark curiosity, illuminate our past, and remind us why access to history matters. The reimagined 10,000 square foot exhibit is the first renovation of this space in 2 decades. Now, complete with state-of-the-art artificial intelligence technology at its core, visitors have an experience unlike anything, anywhere on the National Mall, let alone at any history museum across the country. With billions of records in the holdings of the National Archives, it would be impossible to build an exhibit that could showcase everything. However, the digital experience you're about to dive into will let you tailor your visit to your interests and immerse your thoughts and understanding in those interests and tap into the immense history of our nation like never before. Curated records at various portals, activated by unique barcodes that all of you have received. Not only will you have the opportunity to explore this digital feat, but you will also see some of the iconic originals for which we call the National Archives home. The Louisiana Purchase, the William Stone copper plate engraving, presidential gifts, and much, much more. As I reflect on the new museum and the experience and what it means to me, I think about the founding documents displayed behind me and how these sacred documents have served as a reminder of our nation's hopes and dreams, how they have inspired generations to carry the torch that was handed to us and to continue our journey towards a more perfect union. Now, this new exhibit will serve as a touchstone for future generations to dive into our nation's history, complete with curiosity and awe, and participate in the writing of this next chapter of our history as we pass the torch on to them. As we look ahead to the nation's 250th anniversary, the American story serves as an opening, an introduction to a year-long celebration that will culminate in our Spirit of Independence Festival in June of 2026, followed by our 250th 4th of July celebration just a few weeks later. It's an invitation to every American to participate and to connect with the ideals that shaped our country, an invitation the Foundation is honored to extend. With that, I'd like to turn the podium back to Jim for the introduction of our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. And as the Secretary said, this new museum is opening at a very fortuitous time, and it's almost like we planned it that way. The 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence is only a few months away. And how incredible is it that that seminal document, so foundational to each and every one of our lives, is right here in this room. Semi-quincentennial celebrations have already started and are expected to envelop cities and towns all across the country by next July. President Trump appointed Ambassador Monica Crowley to oversee the 250th celebrations and serve as the official spokesperson for this once-in-a-generation series of commemorations. And she's a little bit like her colleague, Secretary Rubio, in that she too holds several jobs. She's the Chief of Protocol of the United States, responsible for advising the President on all matters related to diplomatic protocol and welcoming foreign leaders to our country. And she is Assistant Secretary of State. In addition to coordinating the 250th celebrations, she's charged with coordinating America's participation in the FIFA events in 2026 and the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028, so she's a little bit busy. We're grateful that Ambassador Crowley is here to dedicate this new museum, and it's a pleasure to welcome her to the National Archives, Madam Ambassador.
Well, thank you so much, Jim, for that incredible introduction and for having me here today. Patrick, thank you as well. Mr. Secretary, it's a joy to be here with you. And it's always such an honor and a pleasure for me to be at the National Archives. I think the very first time I was here was on a sixth grade trip with my parents, and it just swept me away, the magic of this place. It is such a sacred institution and building that houses our founding documents in such a, again, sacred kind of way. And on a lighter note, I wish I could take this lighting with me everywhere I go. So thank you so much for having us. As Jim mentioned, in addition to my day job serving as Chief of Protocol of the United States, the President has also asked me to serve as his administration representative for all of the major U.S.-hosted events over the next 3+ years. That includes America's 250th birthday celebration, the FIFA World Cup next year. And by the way, you should all know that there is a World Cup match on July 4th next year in Philadelphia. So we're hoping and praying and anticipating that that match will be the United States versus the UK, as well as the Olympic Games coming down the pike in 2028 in Los Angeles. And I have to say, all of those events are going to be incredibly important and special to our country in so many different ways. But America's 250th birthday is really personally very special to me, and it's extraordinarily fun and meaningful for me to be working on this huge project. And that's why I was so delighted when Jim asked me to attend here for the opening of this incredible new exhibit. And by the way, I was here a couple of months ago when I saw the raw space, so I'm really looking forward to seeing the final project. Some of you, and I won't ask exactly who, I won't ask for a raising of hands, but some of you in this room might remember America's bicentennial in 1976 when we were all very, very, very young, right? I was a very, very little girl, and I remember 1976 and that 200th birthday celebration for our country. I don't remember all of the details of what was planned and President Ford and how he celebrated that, but I do remember how I felt. And I remember certain little details of America's 200th. I remember having a little flag as a little girl and having my parents, we were at the Jersey Shore at the time, and having my parents take us to the local bicentennial parade in town. And hundreds of people were on the street. We all had our little flags. I remember having sparklers that night. I remember the national fireworks here in DC. I remember the New York City fireworks. I remember the tall ships going up the Hudson River in New York to celebrate. There are certain little details about that I remember, even though I may not have remembered President Ford's speech and things like that. What I'm conveying here is what we are going to convey for next year for all of us, as well as current generations and future generations of Americans and people around the world, which is a feeling of pride, an indelible sense of American pride and patriotism, because we want future generations to take the feeling that I took from the bicentennial and take it forward, and then be able to pass that feeling on down generation after generation. Proud to be an American. If you think back to 1976, this country was riven by a lot of very serious divisions coming after Watergate, coming after the end to the war in Vietnam. This country was torn apart. And in 1976, that bicentennial celebration played a huge part in bringing this country back together, bringing the American people back together, healing our nation of those divides. And we look forward to having the 250th birthday next year do the exact same thing for a country that is often torn apart by different divisions this time around. It's now our privilege to share this incredible experience, this core memory that I have, and I know so many of you have, from 50 years ago, to the next generation of Americans from sea to shining sea. The National Archives is obviously playing a critical role in all of this, and certainly with this brand new exhibit called The American Story. It's such a special exhibit, and like I said, I was here a couple of months ago when it was a raw space, and they gave me a briefing of what it was going to involve and include. And it is going to bring Americans and people from around the world through this journey of our nation's past in a very personalized kind of way. The American Story uses cutting-edge technology to find and showcase documents that match the interests of every museum guest. So when we talk about the quintessential personal experience going through a museum, every single one of us will have our own experience with the Declaration behind me or the Constitution. This is going to take that experience to the next level. The National Archives is home to over, and I did not know this prior to this event today, but we're standing in an institution that's home to over 13 billion pieces of paper and over 700,000 artifacts. So there's certainly something for everyone. This new exhibit will also feature spaces for play and learning, where children can build their very own lifelong memories of America's 250th birthday. This exhibit is all about bringing history to life, which is important for all of us, but certainly important for children, teenagers, the next generations. We want to leave a lasting impression on them of the beauty of America and certainly American exceptionalism, and that's what this exhibit is going to bring. Initiatives like the American Story will serve to realign and reunite our nation around shared patriotic values and a renewed sense of civic pride as we all journey together toward July 4th, 2026. This exhibit is all about bringing to life our history and also capturing our national mood, which is one of celebration as we head into our big birthday. There's no greater champion for this celebration than my boss, President Donald J. Trump. He often will say that the 2020 election had to happen that way. As difficult as it was for him, it had to happen that way so that he could come back and preside over America's 250th birthday. He feels great passion for this project, and he knows how important it is to our nation, to the world, but it's also, and all of you should know this, it is also very important to him personally. Next year's momentous celebration of the American dream and American exceptionalism will be thanks to his visionary leadership and his persistence in activating a national and truly global celebration of our big anniversary. We're all working together across the public and private sectors to bring America's first 250 years to life for every household, every family, every community, in every state and territory. We also believe that this celebration will have a truly global impact, showcasing American influence, increasing preference for U.S. partnership around the world, and promoting a future of peace and prosperity. And on a personal note, I can say I think one of the reasons why President Trump asked me to be his representative to this event is because I have access to all of the world's ambassadors to the United States, as well as access to all of the world leaders with whom President Trump meets. And I can tell you, I hustle each and every one of them to participate in America's 250. So we are really going to have a truly global celebration next year. America's 250th is so much more than just an organization, a commission, a campaign, or a date on the calendar. This moment is going to inspire a new era of American greatness. Not only will this be the most monumental and exciting and fun celebration in American history, but it will also inspire a shared vision for America's future. And we need that now more than ever, just as we did in 1976. So huge thanks to the Trump administration, because their single-minded focus on making this such a spectacular celebration next to Independence Day will ensure that this will be a once, or in many cases, a twice in a lifetime moment of grandeur and patriotism. Congratulations to everyone here for your support. Thank you for your support in making this exhibit possible and sharing in our celebration today. And thank you to the National Archives for opening your doors in this incredibly special way for America's extraordinary 250th birthday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Ambassador, and I'd like to ask you and Secretary Slater and the Foundation's Executive Director, Patrick Madden, to join me to cut the ribbon and open this new museum. And then, ladies and gentlemen, in a few minutes, you're all invited to tour the galleries at your leisure. Thank you for joining us to celebrate the American story. So let's go cut the ribbon.
Did you guys want to swap for big scissors?